is up, sports world? It's Friday. The weekend is here, and we are glad we are here. Jeff Dawson here, host of East Coast Sports Investors Breakfast Bankroll. Today we are going to recap some games yesterday. Actually, even recap some NFL and the Hall of Fame game. What we want to do is get you geared up for today. Today's MLB market. We're going to talk some overnight openers and what I like to say, some morning movers and shakers. And there's a handful of them there. So without further ado, my man from Tampa, the Palm Tree State himself, the one, the only, Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what is up?
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today? You looking all dapper with your suit on, and I decided to go a little more casual today with a jumpsuit.
Yeah, and here I've been cash all week, so I figured, we had a busy morning already, as we have talked about and kind of hinting to a lot of people out here on social media. A lot of irons in the fire, a lot of phone calls and emails being answered on our end. And hopefully sooner than later, we'll have some big breaking news. But interesting day yesterday. We went a little more deeper than we usually have and talked some first fives, and our ECSI VIP group ends up going 1-1. So I'm grateful. We just got juiced. But it was a comical 1-1 where we talked about Zensatella and what we thought was the real nice edge, cruising through 4 2/3 actually, up 4-0, and in a blink of an eye, it's 4-4. And thank God for Trevor Story, who hits a 2-run homer. So we cashed that side. And the other one, I could see this coming. We decided to dive in on the Phillies minus the hook. They gave Nola a 2-0 lead. Again, MLB 101, leadoff walks. And I understand it's Soto. I get that part. But, sometimes you got to challenge them. If they keep the ball in the park, it's a win instead of a leadoff walk. We know what happens with leadoff walks. And between a leadoff walk, a couple singles, a hit by pitch, it's 2-2. We don't score on the top of the fifth, so it's already a loss. And then he again walks Soto to start the bottom of the fifth, and then Bell hits a 3-run homer, so we get juice. But I talked to some people yesterday, and I want to really talk to you. I really think the key to success in these first fives is getting guys on base. You don't have to score early, which obviously is a bonus, but getting to the top of the order for the third time in the fifth inning. That's the key. Hey, if you get 2 guys on in the first, the third, the fourth, you're guaranteed to get to that top of the order for the third time. And the nerds upstairs, that's one of their pet peeves. Hey, this is the third time around. But give me your talk about yesterday, how you did, what you saw, any takes from that?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said, and that's a most simplistic way to look at it, because in a first five, I count pitch counts and different things like that and different stuff. 15 is an average pitch count. So if you're in 3 innings, that's 45. 4 innings is 60. 5 innings, 75 pitches. So if you're above 75 pitches, you're struggling a little bit. You're getting some outs maybe that you're having to work hard for, and typically that's the time frame when a manager is looking at, well, what kind of stress did you have during this 5 innings, and whether you're going to come out of the game or not. But when you start to think about the lineup and how many times the lineup goes through, you've got 3 outs in an inning, so you got 3 times 5, that's 15 outs. So that's not going to get your leadoff batter up for 3 times. But if you can get some guys on base and you can do some different things, I think that's where you're talking about where the edges are. And I think there's different ways to look at that, though. So what does it mean to get on base? Do you look at on-base percentage? Do you look at weighted on-base percentage? Do you look at walks? Do you look at what the whip rate is? Or do you look at all of that and kind of get an idea of sort of what kind of things you look at. One of the things I used to always say, and I haven't really said it so much this year, is when you handicap a baseball game, and our styles are totally different. But what I try to do is everything I can to figure out who's going to have more opportunities to score runs. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. And if I can wager on teams that have more opportunities to score runs, theoretically at some points in time they're going to come through. Other times they're not, and I can't control that. But at the same time, that falls into the same premise of what you're talking about. And I think obviously that's how you win baseball games. Give yourself the chance to win. And that has changed since we were kids. They don't play the game the same way anymore. They don't move runners. They don't do different things. So you have to try to play cat and mouse with what really is an opportunity to score runs these days. And, Major League Baseball, you get a walk and then a home run. He scored 2. And holy cow, I mean, it sometimes takes 3 or 4 hits to score 2 runs. And here you got a walk and a homer, and that's it. And that's the way it's done these days. So when you start to think about, where the value is and what value do hitters have to teams, I think the number one thing everybody misses, and then the number one thing is you need RBI guys. If you don't have guys that drive in the runs, it don't matter how many times they get on base. I mean, it just doesn't. And that's where you kind of determine who's really good and who's not. And that's like the White Sox. They have Jose Abreu. That guy just drives in runs. He walks up there and runs fall out of his pocket. And other guys get up to bat and they do all this stuff. Giancarlo Stanton, he can't drive in a run for the life of him. But who's the better hitter? I don't know. I mean, it's the value to the team and the value to team wins. And that's what we're trying to do is who wins. I don't, I'm not playing DFS here.
And you brought up a good point. And what I have told to our clients and anyone that's reached out and asked is, and they're like, okay, your success the last 6 to 8 weeks, especially mid-season when a lot of people are waving that white flag, is like unprecedented. And you're getting to the All-Star break. You're getting the buyers and sellers. You're getting teams where lots of times you don't know if the team has just waved the white flag. You don't know if the team has already said, okay, we're starting to bring up some of the kids, or we're going to start playing more kids in more leverage situations to actually see what we have. But when you talked about what are you going to take, what are you looking at? One of the big things, again, is full game team totals, okay, for the teams, the over-unders, and then when you go back to the first 5, okay, you got that over-under there, okay? If you are giving up a half run, okay, and your under-over is only 3.5 or 4, you got to sit back there and say to yourself, okay, I think Vegas is trying to tell us most likely there's a good possibility it's a 2-2 game. Is it going to be a 3-1 and we're on the right side, or 2-1 or something of that? When you get into the 4.5, 5, 5.5s, and even 6s in the first 5, it's a lot easier and more comfortable to then play a minus half run.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think that is a super way to look at things. I look at it from a perspective of can the pitcher limit the opportunities, and does he have something that the hitters can get outs on? So here a perfect example of what we're talking about, Jeff, and I kind of went into detail a little bit with it earlier today, because I was looking at the White Sox and the Cubs today. And I'm looking at the White Sox as a first 5, and I'm like, okay, there's a decent number on this, and Lance Lynn's pitching. Holy crap, this might be a good one. So then I started to go into it just a little bit of detail, and he's got a big edge on the xFIP number, and he's got a big edge on the Sierra number over Hendricks. Everybody thinks Hendricks having a great year, and rightfully so. So I went up and I kind of looked at it, and I look at my numbers over the last month. But Hendricks has got a Sierra number of 5.33 over the last month. And you would never believe that with the number of wins he's getting. But the reason that happens is because his strikeout rate's only 11%. So he's got balls in play. But then I looked at who he's facing over the last 7 starts. He faced the Nationals. He faced the Cincinnati Reds, who probably are the best offense that he faced. He faced St. Louis, Arizona, St. Louis, and Cincinnati. I mean, come on. So he's not really facing juggernauts in there in terms of offense. So he can have mediocre performances and look good. But where I changed my mind on this particular game is kind of what we were just talking about. So his advantage that he has is a thing called O-swing. O-swing is balls that look like strikes. They come in, they look like strikes. They break outside the strike zone, or they're just a ball in general. But it's balls that batters swing at that are not in the strike zone. That's called O-swing rate. His O-swing rate is 35.9%. It's in the green. That means he's in the top 25% of all pitchers in the last month. So that means guys are chasing his pitches. So that only is a good thing if you're facing a team that chases pitches. So what do the White Sox do? They're number 6 worst at chasing pitches. So that tells me that he has a chance to hang in this game because the matchup of what he throws, he has one pitch right now that he is getting plus outs on. Everything else are minus outs, which means that he's less than average on getting outs. And then the plus pitch is a curveball. So then I looked it up, and what's the one pitch the White Sox don't hit? It's that curveball. So it all makes sense in a sense that Hendricks has an opportunity just based on his pitching style, what he throws, and then the style of hitting that the White Sox have, that this means it's a layoff for me because it doesn't show value. And when you talk about, okay, the number of runs and stuff in those first 5 innings, you got to try to figure out who's going to score them. Well, I don't think that the Cubs are going to score very many runs. And based on what I'm looking at, I don't know that the White Sox are going to score very many runs in the first 5 innings. So I might look at it a different way. So I just think that a lot of this plays out to how deep do you really want to go, and then what's important and what's not important. And then the way you look at a game and the way I look at a game are totally different, but we can connect the dots. And I think that's what's really cool about having both styles presented.
And it's funny, I talked yesterday at length, which Joe Ross are we going to see? Okay. And it was the Joe Ross again that was cruising, gave up 1 run here and then a solo to Harper. I think Harper, of all his homers, I think all but 2 have been solo homers, but just hanging around. And I say the same thing about Hendricks, especially at home. You could see Hendricks go an inning and 2/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, or you can look and it's the 8th inning and he's got a 2-hitter going. And now you got Chicago playing, and it just happens to be the only game on the board. It's Friday. It's 2:20. I mean, it's going to be a big public play. It's payday today for the public, and they're chomping at the bit at this. And you're 1,000% correct. I looked at that. I have a bunch of boxes checked today because there's been some huge movement. Again, corrections. Okay, these lines did not move 40 and 50 cents. Okay, here's the overnight move. Let's get it to our sharps. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Here's the public number, which we will get to. I'm just going to throw this up there real quick. We'll talk for a second about it. Hall of Fame game last night. We talked about it. Steelers 16, Cowboys 3. We both talked at length, and hats off to you about the QB edge that we thought that the Steelers would have. The kicking game was pathetic. Both defenses, I don't want to say shined because it was to be expected. And the comical thing, again, is Steelers opened at 1, closed at 2.5. The under-over opened at 34, closed at 31.5. So basically, Vegas, the books, the casinos gave everyone their layup. I mean, the public killed it. They had the Steelers. They had the under. The game's over. Move on. Thoughts?
Well, I think that the Hall of Fame game is separate from all the other ones. It's how do I say it? It's an orchestrated scrimmage. That's what it is. So very rarely do you get a lot of points, and the only way you get a lot of points is really if there's a lot of turnovers, or somebody can't tackle somebody in a punt return or something. So the reality of that game is that you should expect it to be a low scoring game, and we talked about that yesterday. And I think that the other issue there is that I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter this morning that says, "Oh, if you're not interested in watching, the team that's winning, then why are you still sticking around if you're not a fan?" Well, what are you expecting? I mean, this is a game that, and again, they used to call it an exhibition season. Now it's preseason. Well, it's called exhibition for a reason, right? They're exhibitioning everybody. The starters don't play and all that stuff. But I think that it's a conservative nature in that first game like that, and I think that it's of all of the preseason games, that's the one that nobody really goes to try to win. Nobody really tries to go to do anything except not get hurt. And some of the younger guys, make a statement, try to do whatever they can. But I don't want to call it boring football. It's football. So, you get excited because, hey, it's football. But you got to pick and choose what you want to watch, because are you looking for position battles? Are you looking – and to be honest, Jeff, I don't even think they even do it. The first preseason game has nothing to do with position battles. I think that it just is one of those things that sets the table for, okay, everybody else is going to come on next. I think it's Thursday next week they start again. But I think you'll see the totals in those right around 37, 38, 39, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't think you're going to see 30 and 31 totals on those games. And I think that you're going to see teams open it up a little bit more, and there'll be different things. Not that they're really trying to win, but I think they're really trying to set tones and do different things and try stuff to see what they've learned. So that's my kind of thought is two things. One, it's an exhibition game. It's an organized scrimmage, that particular one. It won't be that way next week, even though it's game one for most of those teams.
And I'll close on this topic. Hats off to Derek Stevens, Jeffrey Benson, Mr. Metcalf, all at Circus Sports. Anyone watching and listening, if you're in Vegas, make sure you get over to the Circus Sports on Twitter at Circus Sports. Follow them. They are brick and mortaring in a lot of states now that are available and live for sports wagering. The social media topic, how they have limited me. I'm too sharp. I only can play 100, 150. The DraftKings, FanDuel, Barstools, again, looking for the public, looking for the degens, looking to, for the guys that lose. And these guys at Circa were taking $20,000 limits on the apps and at the window. I mean, it's just amazing what they do there. And he said it perfect. We're in the business to take bets. That's our job. Where these other people and businesses of so-called books and shops are in the business really not to take bets, to basically take the losers. They don't want you to win. These guys embrace and want you to win. They'd love to put a billboard up there. Hey, Scotty Webb is now up $2.8 million at the Circa. Come on down and say hi. It's amazing where the game is sometimes, Scotty.
Yeah, well, I think there's a definite line between sports books that operate on, I don't want to call it old school behavior, but they understand why they're there, right? They're there to take wagers. And the reality is if you want to take a wager you're uncomfortable with, make a line that you are comfortable with. They'll still bet it. So go do what you need to do, but your job is to make wagers and take them. And I think that there's that executive line that comes in from some of these places that are all worried about profitability, right? So they have to really look at who they allow to actually make wagers, and I don't think that's the right thing to do, because ultimately, if you got a guy in there that is just can't lose, for example, and I don't know who those people are, but if you have a guy that just is going to be one of those ones you want to limit, the truth of the matter is he's going to shape your number better than anybody else that you could have, and at the same time he can make you more money than what he's going to take from you. So the reality is that there's give and take here, and I think that these, I don't want to call them newer, but the school of thought of business profitability, that line of thinking is askew in a sense of really what they do and how they try to get stuff done, because you can utilize those guys to actually be a public draw and get people there and do a lot more for you than if guys shunning them away.
No, and great point. Again, these guys, you're 1,000% correct. Talking with Dave all the time and asking him the hidden gems and the guys that you're talking about. Hey, he just laid 5 dimes on. Let's just play a game here. He just laid 5 dimes on the Cubs. Nice little dog today, and the public's killing the White Sox side, of course. So this will allow them to say, okay, well, they might even, bump up the White Sox a little more. I talk about this Sunday 11 a.m. call. These guys are all waiting for Circa to release their college lines. Why? So they can shape their lines. And we're going to get into it right now. The corrections that I saw overnight today and the movers and shakers is just, is just off the charts today. Yesterday in MLB, favorites 8-4, overs 4-7-1. The big dogs at cash. Twins plus 203, Royals plus 177, and the Marlins plus 119. I'm going to bring up my board right now. I'm going to give them the actually, let's do this. I'm going to give them the Don Best look today, and we'll go over here. Zoom in there. All right, Scotty. I got some games. I got a lot of box checked off here, but it's just crazy. I'm going to just breeze right through him and just make some mental notes. I just thought, obviously, the Mets and Phillies, Stroman versus Gibson, great pitching matchup, and kind of surprised to see the Phillies at a minus 111 favorite there. Brubaker's Pittsburgh at Cincinnati versus Miley. Miley's another one of those pitchers. Joe Ross, Hendricks. Which Miley are you going to get? Pinnacle opened about 215. This morning, the public got to see him at 185. Another great matchup. San Fran at Milwaukee. Webb versus Burns. Opened at 148, down to 140. So a little movement on the Giants there. Your Rays at Baltimore. Yarbrough versus Means. I've talked at length about it. It looks like Means has got it back. But your boys opened at 142, now at 152. So some action on your Rays. Boston at Toronto. Evaldi versus Manoah. The kid has been lights out. Manoah opened at 139, now 137. But again, it's Friday. It's payday. I think a lot of public will see the Red Sox as a value and will tend to be that public trendy dog today. Detroit at Cleveland, Manning versus Quantrill, opened at 150 and now 135. If I told you this, for the month of July, who has the most runs in the MLB? Who has scored the most runs in the MLB? And you're right, it is the Tigers. They have all of a sudden woken up, so it's kind of comical. Minnesota at Houston, Ober versus Greinke, opened at 239 last night. The public sees it at 187. Here's a just baffling. Texas at Oakland, Fultonavich versus Bassett, opened at 210. Public gets to see it at 280 this morning. You talked about White Sox at the Cubs, Lind versus Hendricks, opened at 145, now currently 163. I want to give everyone the weather report. I'm getting an alert there. Just let me check on that for everyone. And yes, wind blowing out 13 miles an hour, dead center. So when, especially the public sees that, they chomp at the bit there. The over opened at 9, juiced 106. Now it's 9 under. So you're gonna get, even though the wind's blowing out, and usually, when the wind's blowing out and it's the perfect storm, you're going to get an 11, 11 and a half, 12 there. It's 9. It's 2 good pitches. And it's trending down. And the last one I checked out, Scotty, Angels and Dodgers, Sandoval versus Price. Sandoval's been real good of late. Opened at 181, but the public saw it at 206. A lot to take in there, but anything jump out? And if so, why?
Well, that first game you talked about is actually a play I made today. You had talked about the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Philly game. And I played Stroman in the New York Mets at minus 101. So I got it basically at even. And this is a game where you got Gibson, who just came over from Texas, who's pitching for Philadelphia. He pitched well his first time that he played a game for Philadelphia. But what I saw this was that Stroman has a Sierra number 388, xFIP 357, Gibson 494, 526. So there is a variance there of 1.5 runs that I can't look at and turn the other way. Yes, that Gibson has a 58 game score for the season. It's a near ace-like number, but Stroman's 54, which means it's above average. And for the last 7 games, Stroman's a 50, which is right at average, and Gibson's a 51. So he's not been pitching the way he did at the beginning of the season. He has a very low strikeout rate, and Gibson walks everybody. He's got a 12.8% walk rate, and that's the highest on the, well, almost the highest. It's the third highest on the board today. So that means that the Mets don't have to work that hard. They're going to have more opportunities because he's not a strikeout guy. So that means balls are going to be put in play. I like the idea that he puts guys on base, and that gives our guys a little bit of an edge and an advantage, and it's a pick-em game. So I kind of like the idea that the Mets have to win. I mean, if the Mets lose, they're not in first place anymore. So this is one of those games, I think, where Stroman comes out, he pitches a good game, he's off of a bad start. So I like the idea that he's going to do well in this particular game, and I thought the value was on that one. So I like that one. That was one that you talked about. That Pittsburgh-Cincinnati match, I figure I understand. We had talked about Brubaker maybe 2 months ago on this show and how good Brubaker is. But Brubaker, he plays for the Pirates, so that's all I can say. I mean, he doesn't get the run support. He doesn't probably get what he needs to be a top line pitcher, and I don't think that this is the right spot for him. Not that there is a right spot, but he's pitched well twice against Cincinnati already. But his home run rate over the last 7 games or last month, 2.41. So that means he gives up 2.5 home runs per 9 innings, and his hard hit rate's 48%. 48% is the highest on the board today. So that means his stuff is very hittable, and when they hit it, they line it up pretty good. So I don't think this, in my mind, is one of those spots where I want to challenge Miley, just because even if he has a decent game, Pittsburgh's not going to threaten you to death with their offense. So I just figure that the line is too high for me. I stay away, and I don't really want to bet on the Reds minus 1.5 in case Brubaker has a good game. You talked about that San Francisco-Milwaukee game, and I'm telling you, I think that's one of the fun games on the board today. I didn't bet it because I can't figure out how to do it. So this is where you got Webb and Burns. and I don't know what's got into this Logan Webb guy, man. This guy is he don't strike anybody out. But he doesn't really walk anybody either. Um, he's a lot. He's got 64.7% ground ball rate, and his hard hit contact rate is 26.8%. That's really good. So they're hitting a lot of bad contact, a lot of ground balls, and he's getting what typically. I can make sure I say this the right way so everybody understands. Typically, a soft tosser is going to have contact. That's the idea. They want contact because that's how they get their outs. They don't strike people out. And his strikeout rate's 19.8%. It's red as red can be on my sheet, which means he's in the bottom 25%. But soft tossers also are guys that don't walk guys, and he's at a 6% walk rate, which is about average. He's not above average or below. He's right where he needs to be. But what's really, really interesting is he's got a 30.7% chase rate, that O swing we talked about. That O swing rate at 30% is red. It's not even average, it's below average. And he's got a 9.3 swing strike percentage. So that means balls in the strike zone they swing at and miss. That's red too. But his CSW, that's called strikes and whiffs, it's 30.5%. That's green. Now, how does that happen? How can you not strike guys out, not get guys to swing and miss, and have a great CSW number? Well, the reason for that is the guys are taking strikes. He's throwing the ball that looks like a ball and breaks and becomes a strike. It's got late movement. That's how he's winning. And that's one of the things that I think that is underrated in that guy's game and how he's doing it. Now, I had said all of those things, and he's still not as good as Burns. He's just not. So Burns is 2.76 Sierra number, 2.16 xFIP number, 32% strikeouts, 5% walks, 36.7% swinging, 36 O swings, balls that they swing at outside the strike zone, and that's rare for flamethrowers. They don't swing and miss at stuff outside the strike zone very often because they don't chase that stuff. And he's got a 13.6% swing and miss in the strike zone, so he's 31% CSW, and he's got a 51% ground ball rate, and that's rare for a flamethrower pitcher. They usually get fly balls. So I don't know how they're going to score, Jeff. I mean, these are two teams. These are two teams that are going to struggle to score runs in this game. Burns is off of a bad game, so that gives him an advantage. And the over/under I think was 8, and I think if you look at it in the first 5, that's 4. And I'm thinking those are probably fairly realistic numbers. If I was forced to play this game, I would play it under 8. I don't know how else other than to do it. I think it's fun that you get a matchup like this because you got to try to figure it out.
I've just pulled up Wager Talk right now. We're going to dive quickly into, what I was talking about right here. And let me see if I can pull that up. Okay, that's first 5. Okay, so I'm going to go over to here for everyone. Let's see if we can share here. Oops. Stop screen. Yes, we do need a producer. Anyone with a producer, send us an email, please. East Coast Sports Investors at gmail.com. Screen share. Share screen. There we go. All right, so here's what I'm talking about, Scotty. It's the first 5. And over to the right at Pinnacle, there's your team totals. Okay, and then they even got them juiced for you. Okay, so if you're just looking strictly at numbers and you're looking for an edge, okay, so again, you got the coin toss with your Phillies. You got a 1-run advantage again, just number wise on Cincy, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Colorado, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You go down to Seattle and the Yankees, and they're expecting 6 there or 5.5. They're moving as we're changing. Okay, so again, Wager Talk's done a great job here, and hats off. We've been using a lot of different companies, and some had been good, some have disappeared. We've always been Sports Insight, Don Best guys, but we've started to use some Wager Talk. So hats off to them. So now we go to the first half money lines. First 5, I mean. Okay, and here's your money lines, your opening and your currents at Circa, Westgate, South Point, and then they throw in Pinnacle, Bet Online. Okay, so for us, can't be releasing 185s in Miley. Can't release a Burns at 165. Look at a Marquez even at a 180. Weathers at 185. And Arizona tweaked their lineup. Keep an eye on the Arizona team. And the Walking Dead, our kryptonite all year, Minnesota, all of a sudden knows how to win now. And it's comical. Peralta minus 170 for the Yanks. Greinke minus 190 for Houston. There's your Bassett at minus 280. I'm telling you, they must think Fulton-Avich has probably got an inning and a third in him today. We'll go back to your White Sox game at 185. Wainwright at 160 and David Price at 185. So now we'll go to the next step that we do, and we'll go to the spreads. How can we get into some of these bigger favorites? Okay. So with that said, I'll go right to the bottom to your game. If I liked Hendricks first 5, I can get them at a plus 140, say, first 5, right? Or I can get them plus a half run minus 105 and vice versa now. Lynn, I can't play him minus 160 or 170 first 5, but if you take him minus the hook and hope it's not tied and they're leading, there's your minus 125. They price us out of the Oakland game, minus 170 for a half run. Greinke, I think, is a carrot. They're trying to get some of you guys in there to play Houston and Greinke. You can get Houston minus a half run, minus 130. Let me see one other one here. Maybe a big favorite. San Diego's a big favorite. You can get Weathers minus a half run, minus 125. Muller minus a half run, minus 130. And again, if you like Cincinnati today, especially at home, you can get Miley minus a half run, minus 130. Thoughts?
Yeah, the Reds are good at home. There's one game in there too, Jeff, that we haven't talked about yet that I kind of like, and that's the Braves. I like the Braves. I like that kid Muller, and he's pitching against Fetty today, and he's too expensive to bet, outright. So if you bet him on a half a run in the first 5 innings, he's only minus 130. and I say that in a sense that a lot of people, I don't even know who he is. His name's Kyle Muller. He's a lefty pitcher, but his game score for the season is 59. He's made 6 starts, so it's not like he's a kid that's not used to pitching now. I mean, he's made 6 starts. The only start that he had trouble with at all was against the Washington, so he's faced them once. So I kind of like the idea that he's had some experience now. He feels a little bit better about what he's doing. But he's pitching against Fetty. And remember, we talked, right before the break, and we talked about what it is that happens after the break. And you get these guys that run out of gas. And I think that's where you're seeing Fetty today. His game score for the season's a 46, but his last 7 starts is a 35. So that shows me that he's starting to really wane away. And he's got a 4.23 xFIP number today, Sierra number. He's got a high walk rate. He doesn't get much swing and miss, a lot of contact, 287 batting average against, 161 guys on base, hard hit rates 34%, and it's 1.96 in terms of home runs per 9 innings. So I believe that the Atlanta Braves have a really good shot here with a pitcher that's averaging 59 on game score against the guy that's averaging 46. And then over his last 7 starts is 35. And I don't think that number comes close to what that value is. I mean, if you have an ace and he's pitching against the guy that's just average, it's going to be minus 200. If you have a guy that's an ace and pitching against the guy that sucks, he's going to be minus 250. And you can get him in here at minus 130, minus a half a run. I like that value. So that was one of the ones that I liked. And some of these other ones that I'm really kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out so much is that Oakland A's game is one of these ones that's a head scratcher. But then I looked at it and Fultonavich, he's just bad. But he's going against Bassett, and Bassett's not like this ace flame throwing, 70 million miles an hour guy that rips your arm off when you catch it. He's a very good pitcher that's learned how to become even better, but his game scores against Texas, 72, 81, 67, dominant. So I understand why these guys went and jumped on them and moved the line the way they did. I don't look at them that way. I look at them more in a sense that if a pitcher's thrown 3 times against one team, he's going to have a bad start in there. And if he's got 3 great starts, he's more apt to have a bad start, not a 4th great start. So I would almost, and I'm not saying I'm going to bet on the Rangers against the Oakland A's. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not certainly betting on Fultonavich. But what I am saying is I don't support the scheme at this point. There's no way I would jump on board now, and I'm not going to play a first 5. I'm not going to do any of that stuff because, to be honest with you, the Oakland A's are going to have a ton of advantage in the bullpen. So I like the idea here that that's a perfect stay-off game. You mentioned Weathers today. And against Smith, and it's just bad. Caleb Smith is 3.52 home runs per 9 innings. That's like 3.5, and they're facing the Padres, and the Padres hit home runs. So not that Weathers is a great pitcher or any of that stuff. It's just these matchups sometimes are crazy. The one that I thought about doing, and you mentioned it at the end there, Sandoval against Price. Sandoval is a 60 game score over his last month, and he's a 59 for the season, and nobody knows it. Nobody knows how good this guy's pitched. 3.48 Sierra number, 3.2 xFIP, 30% strikeout, all green, 38% swing and miss out of the strike zone, 15% swing and miss in the zone. I mean, I don't know. Nobody know. Maybe this is one of those ones you want to take plus 1.5 and probably make out a good deal, or at least in the first 5 innings you can take plus a half a run. And David Price, he's very hittable. He doesn't strike guys out anymore. He doesn't. He's just very hittable. So those are all just kind of interesting games. I do like the Yankees in the first 5 today too. They have an opener pitching today, Peralta, and I think Peralta is probably going to go 1 or 2 innings. And then I'm not gonna support the Yankees bullpen late in the game and all the game, but I'll support them in the first 5 innings today. And it's really because of who they're facing. When you look at what the Yankees do, they strike out a ton. And if you are facing a strikeout pitcher, the Yankees are going to have a little bit of a struggle. They're not facing a strikeout pitcher today. Gonzalez is one of those soft tossers that throws the ball up there, and soft tossers want ground balls. But this soft tosser gets fly balls, and you don't want fly balls with the Yankees. So at this point, those moves and maneuvers that the Yankees made have really dramatically helped, and you can see how it's helped. And we talked about it all year, Jeff. We talked about their pitching's been fine. They need to hit. And of course, now you got Rizzo's got, I don't know, what has he got, 4 home runs since he's come over, and last night, first time Gallo's gotten any hits, then hell, he wins the game for him. So it's an unbelievable thing with some of these guys that are happening and what's going on. And the division races are getting really tight now, and some of these ones I didn't think we're going to get there are there, and it's just interesting. I got a question for you, just curiosity question. The Red Sox 3-7 in the last 10 games. The Yankees 8-2 and the Blue Jays 8-2. The last, that's another team nobody's talking about. They're all talking about the Yankees, but the Blue Jays 8-2 in the last 10. You do that one more week, Jeff, and both those teams pass the Blue Jays. Pass the Red Sox.
I'll tell you the exact what's going on here locally. And I agree to disagree in this regards. They were playing over their skis. Their front end pitching, especially their starters, were hitting numbers they weren't supposed to. Their back end and Bridges saved them. They lead the league in comeback wins with 33. And the day was when the Yankees got Rizzo. The Rizzo was the perfect package for them. Even had Bloom come on, say, yes, we need more. We know we need more, but we're not going to overspend. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't Bloom's fault. It was Henry and the owner that decided, hey, we're not going over the luxury tax. But it's kind of comical how the Yankees get both players and both teams to keep the monies. The Yankees ain't paying for Rizzo this year. They're not paying for Gallo this year either. The Red Sox could have came back with 2 of these guys, 2 prospects just the same, and say, hey, do us a solid. Can you pay the bill? And they would have. Okay? So it's just like it's now the snowball. Now it's really piling up. Okay? So the wind's out of the sail. Wow, they didn't do anything to help us. Well, technically they did, okay? They called up Duran, they called up Houck, okay? And then Schwarber was their guy the whole time. But, the Yankees grabbed 2 lefties. So if you got Schwarber, he was your guy, and then you got Rizzo, everyone's happy. And I've talked to you, I've talked to Pops, I've been on other shows. If you got snake bit and Rizzo stolen from you, pick up the phone and call the Padres. Bite the bullet. You pick up half, they pick up half. You got a Gold Glover, potential Gold Glover. I think he actually has won a Gold Glover with Hosmer. Put Hosmer at first. They were giving him away. Okay? So then you go to the All-Star break, and who do we open up with? Didn't we play you? We got swept.
No, I think you got one. That wasn't you weren't supposed to get, and they got that. They got all those runs in the last inning or something.
Okay, okay, and then I just talked about the Tigers. They led the majors in July for runs scored, and then you got a limp into Toronto. And here's the June 8th in Spider Tack. Since that's happened again, Perez and Richards have been shit. So now they also, and they're not throwing this in our face. But it's there. Sale's coming back. He's got one more rehab start this weekend. He's going to open up next Thursday. I think it's a divisional game. So he'll be back next Thursday. But we knew the perfect storm was coming. Gallo and Rizzo lengthens the Yankees and it allows them to go righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty. So now they're all happy. Short porch, right field. You've talked about Toronto. Not that Berrios is the savior, but it's another arm. So Sale comes back on Thursday. Houck's coming into the lineup. I think you're going to see both Perez and Richards shuffled to the bullpen. And again, I'm not saying we're not going to make the playoffs, but it's going to be a war. Maybe whoever wins the East, if the Yankees stay hot, Jays stay hot, Sox start to melt, maybe both teams come out of these. I don't know, but we're hearing it.
Yeah, I don't mean it. I don't mean it as an attack.
No.
I just was looking at numbers and I was really wanting to look at the NL East because I was looking at how close the Phillies are and how close the Braves are, and what's going on with the Mets, and then I kind of just flipped back up there, and I'm like, you know what, the way this thing's working out, the Yankees were 8-2 in their last 10. Toronto is 8-2 in their last 10. Boston's 3-7. So that's 5 games in 10 days. And if that happens, and I'm not saying it's going to, but I'm just saying if that happens again this week, both teams pass the Red Sox.
No.
That's really how close the division is, and I don't think people are looking at it that way.
No, and I'll add one more to that is Erod's been too inconsistent. He actually stopped the bleeding, thank God, before they lost again yesterday. They're not. JD Martinez has been cold as ice, and you know how it is. If you're playing the field and you make the error, you put your head down. What happens? The ball comes right back to you. Well, JD is coming up in every big pivotal spot. Second and third, 2 outs. Man on third, 2 outs, and he's just not producing. The beginning of the year, the guy, he couldn't miss. And we know it's baseball. You fail 7 out of 10 times. We get all that part. But it's almost, do you rather be the chase or the chasee, I guess? In other words, I think both the Jays and the Yankees were sitting in the catbird seat saying, let us make the moves because they thought the Red Sox were vulnerable. And they are. They're it's not a huge stat. We're not wheeling out Lynn, Rondon, Giolito. We don't have Kopech, Hendricks, and Kimbrel now in the back end. So, realistically on paper, it's been a great race. And you know what? We could say the same thing about the Giants, but the Giants are still hanging around.
No question. I think that time's coming up though when the Dodgers get healthy. I just saw a report earlier today that Trey Turner is likely to get activated for the Dodgers tomorrow, and you start putting guys in that lineup that I just don't think there's anybody that's as deep or as good. And then you get Scherzer and everybody else now running out. I don't know, man. This is one of those things where, yes, I am just shocked that the Giants are still where they are. I'm shocked that they're still ahead of the Padres. I'm not shocked that the Padres are where they are. I think the Padres are still trying to learn, and they think they have a pitching staff that can match up with some of these teams, and they probably do. But at the same time, the guy they miss is Dinelson, or whatever his name is. That guy is the guy that they need to have because he's better than Blake Snell. He's better than Musgrove. He's probably just as good, if not better, than Darvish. That guy is the guy, and if they can put him in that lineup, and who else they're missing? They're missing that kid they got from Cleveland. What's that guy's name? The long-haired guy that had Tommy John surgery. They're missing that guy.
Carrasco, not Carrasco.
No, it's somebody like that.
Bellinger, not Bellinger. It's Clevenger.
Clevenger, yes, Clevenger. They're missing that guy. So they have talent that can pitch, and they're going to be good. I just don't think that how do you match up with what the Dodgers put out there? And I get it. The Giants don't match up with what anybody puts out there either. And it's starting to crack for them. They're starting pitching. Gosman's starting to fall off a little bit, who's been, who would have thought Gosman's going to be one of the guys that's considered for the Cy Young Award? Are you kidding me? So you sit here and you start to think about how this works. And I got a website here that I was looking at, a gambling website that I have some money in. And in the National League Cy Young odds, Walker Buehler plus 250, Burns plus 400, Kevin Gausman 450. I'm like, what? So I get Walker Buehler, I get Burns there. DeGrom's now plus 800. Then you have Woodruff and Zach Wheeler at both at 350. So it's who do you pick? I don't know. You got two you got actually 3 Milwaukee Brewer pitchers on this list. And it's unbelievable how this stuff goes and who's doing what. And, I think as this winds down, this is going to be an epic battle. Win the NL East. It's going to be an epic battle in the American League East. And the wild card races are going to be good. I think the Reds might be able to get into that wild card race with the Padres. We'll see. And then we'll see what happens because it needs to be an exciting time. No matter how bad you think the NL East is, they got people that can play. I mean, they got guys that can play in that league. Think about who plays for the Phillies, right? Harper and Real Muto and those guys, Hoskins and Hutch, all that, right? And the Nationals have Juan Soto, and the Mets have Lindor and the Polar Bear and Fordo and all that. I mean, they have guys that can play. So that's why it's so entertaining. And the truth of the matter, they beat each other up. That's why they're all 500.
No doubt. And we've talked, we've actually covered the gamut today, and we're wrapping it up here at 1 hour. We are cooking with grease here. And again, it's that time of year. And you know what? Some people call it boring, but it's peeling the onion back. It's peeling the layers, the numbers, from going from a screen that has 2 starting pitchers, a rotation number, their records, an under-over, and a line, to digging into team totals, first five under. There's a million ways to skin this cat. And then look at where these records and the divisions are. Like you said, if you went to sleep at the All-Star break and you woke up now 10 days later, you're like, wow, okay. I mean, there is action. Yes, they played a football game yesterday, or an exhibition, as you would say. God bless them. There's going to be some good battles. I get it. The whole key is just don't get injured. Shine where you got to shine. You got to work on, can he play? Can he not play? What's our deal? But there is so much baseball left, and there's so much money to be had. But again, I think the word lazy comes into play. But we will get more into that later as we progress talking baseball. Not that we won't talk football, of course, but we will also be making some money in baseball. So, from myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, to Scott at MLB Daily on Twitter. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same bat station. We're going to go over the Friday night results. If you have any questions, feel free to DM myself, DM Scott. Ask us questions. That's what we're here for. We want to put you into the winner's circle. We want to answer your question to the best of our ability. And if we're able to get you a winner or talk you off a loser, then we did our job. So always remember, if you are wagering today, wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up the phone or reach out to someone. There is help available. So thank you guys so much. The best of luck today. The weekend's here. Invest and wager responsibly, and we will see you tomorrow.